Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're putting your knowledge to the test with an epic 30-question quiz from the Old Testament. From Joshua's leadership to the fall of Jerusalem, we'll see who led Israel into the Promised Land, who called down fire from heaven, and the story of Ruth. Don't forget to like and share this video to reach like-minded people like you. All right, let's dive in. Who prayed for a son and dedicated him to the Lord? Answer: Hannah. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verses 27-28. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore I also have lent him to the Lord as long as he lives. He shall be lent to the Lord. So they worship the Lord there. Who led Israel after the death of Moses? Answer: Joshua. Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Moses my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel. Where was Ruth from? Answer: Moab. Ruth 1:4. Now they took wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth, and they dwelt there about 10 years. Where did Samson die? Answer: in a temple. Judges 16:30. Then Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." And he pushed with all his might, and the temple fell on the lords and all the people who were in it. So the dead that he killed at his death were more than he had killed in his life. Who was Bathsheba's husband, whom David had killed? Answer: Uriah. 2 Samuel chapter 11 verse 15. And he wrote in the letter saying, "Set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retreat from him, that he may be struck down and die." Who said, "To obey is better than sacrifice"? Answer: Samuel. 1 Samuel 15 verse 22. So Samuel said, "Has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams." Who became king over all Israel after the death of Saul? Answer: David. 2 Samuel chapter 5 verses 3. And therefore all the elders of Israel came to the king at Hebron, and King David made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. What was the name of Ruth and Boaz's son? Answer: Obed. Ruth 4:17. Also the neighbor women gave him a name, saying, "There is a son born to Naomi," and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Who anointed Saul as the first king of Israel? Answer: Samuel. 1 Samuel 10 verse 1. Then Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it on his head and kissed him and said, "Is it not because the Lord has anointed you commander over his inheritance?" Who was caught by his hair in a tree during the battle against David? Answer: Absalom. 2 Samuel chapter 18:9. Then Absalom met the servants of David. Absalom rode on a mule. The mule went under the thick boughs of a great terebinth tree, and his head caught in the terebinth, so he was left hanging between heaven and earth. And the mule which was under him went on. How long did it take to build Solomon's temple? Answer: 7 years. 1 Kings 6:38. And in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, the house was finished in all its details and according to all its plans. So he was 7 years in building it. What happened to the Jordan River when the priests carrying the ark stepped in? Answer: It dried up. Joshua 3:16. So the waters that went down into the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, failed and were cut off, and the people crossed over opposite Jericho. Which tribe did not receive an inheritance of land in Canaan because they were given cities among other tribes? Answer: Levi. Joshua 13:14. Only to the tribe of Levi he had given no inheritance. The sacrifices of the Lord God of Israel made by fire are their inheritance, as he said to them. Who called down fire from heaven on Mount Carmel? Answer: Elijah. 1 Kings 18:37 through 38. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that you are the Lord God, and that you have turned their hearts back to you again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood and the stones and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. Who reigned in Jerusalem after Solomon? Answer: Rehoboam. 1 Kings 11:43. Then Solomon rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son reigned in his place. Who was the priest at Shiloh when Hannah prayed for a son? Answer: Eli. 1 Samuel 1:9. So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. What physical characteristic made Saul stand out among the Israelites? Answer: his height. 1 Samuel 9:2. And he had a choice and handsome son, whose name was Saul. There was not a more handsome person than he among the children of Israel. From his shoulders upward he was taller than any of the people. Who played the harp to soothe King Saul when he was troubled? Answer: David. 1 Samuel 16:23. And so it was, whenever the Spirit from God was upon Saul, that David would take a harp and play it with his hand. Then Saul would become refreshed and well, and the distressing spirit would depart from him. How many stones did David take from the brook to fight Goliath? Answer: 5. 1 Samuel 17 verse 40. Then he took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. How did Saul die? Answer: he fell on his own sword. 1 Samuel 31:4. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, Draw your sword and thrust me through with it, lest these uncircumcised men come and thrust me through and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was greatly afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell on it. With whom did David commit adultery? Answer: Bathsheba. 2 Samuel 11:4. Then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity, and she returned to her house. What was David's last recorded sin that brought judgment on Israel? Answer: taking a census. 2 Samuel 24:10. And David's heart condemned him after he had numbered the people. So David said to the Lord, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. But now I pray, O Lord, take away the iniquity of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. Who anointed David as king while Saul was still alive? Answer: Samuel. 1 Samuel 16:13. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel arose and went to Ramah. Who succeeded David as king? Answer: Solomon. 1 Kings 1:39. Then Zadok the priest took a horn of oil from the tabernacle and anointed Solomon, and they blew the horn, and all the people said, "Long live King Solomon." Who killed Naboth to take his vineyard? Answer: Jezebel. 1 Kings 21:7. Then Jezebel his wife said to him, "You now exercise authority over Israel. Arise, eat food, and let your heart be cheerful. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." How many prophets of Baal did Elijah challenge on Mount Carmel? Answer: 450. 1 Kings 18:19. Now therefore, send and gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. What did Elisha ask for from Elijah before he was taken? Answer: a double portion of his spirit. 2 Kings 2:9. And so it was when they had crossed over that Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask, what may I do for you before I am taken away from you?" Elisha said, "Please let a double portion of your spirit be upon me." What did the Shunammite woman build for Elisha? Answer: a small upper room. 2 Kings 4:10. Please let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, and a table and a chair and a lampstand. So it will be whenever he comes to us, he can turn in there. What happened during the siege of Samaria that caused people to eat their own children? Answer: severe famine. 2 Kings 6:25. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and indeed they besieged it until a donkey's head was sold for 80 shekels of silver, and 1/4 of a cob of dove droppings for 5 shekels of silver. Who burned the house of the Lord and carried Judah into captivity in Babylon? Answer: Nebuchadnezzar. 2 Kings 25:9. He burned the house of the Lord and the king's house, all the houses of Jerusalem, that is, all the houses of the great, he burned with fire. And that is the end of the quiz. How did you do? Go ahead and count up your correct answers and post your score in the comments below. I'd love to see how everyone did. Which question was the hardest for you? Was it the one about Naboth's vineyard, or maybe Elisha's request? Let me know in the comments too. Thanks so much for playing along. Until next time, stay blessed and keep digging into the Word.